Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Okay, so welcome to this special episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. We're really wanting to focus, we've got a new series actually, and we really want to focus on the mining and metals industry, which is an important one to Senseye Predictive Maintenance. And I'm really pleased to say I've got one of my colleagues all the way in Australia on the podcast today, Richard, who's going to discuss. Well, we're going to have a bit of an intro, I think, into metals and mining in general. I think, but then following episodes, well, I guess we'll dive into certain areas. But I guess first of all, Richard, if you'd like to just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
No, thank you, Niall. Certainly, a lot of change happening, and metal and mining here in Australia is very much a big focus. You know, we've got quite a lot of resources, and with regards to what's happening in this space, it's quite exciting, all the new technologies coming. But I might just expand a little bit about myself. I've been now in Australia for 18 years, originally from South Africa, so you might hear it in the accent. And most of that time I have actually spent in mining. I was quite fortunate enough to be involved in large mining equipment, and these are the whole trucks, the drag lines, and the shovels that are all electrically powered. So all this focus on renewables has actually been in mining for quite some time when it comes to electric equipment, and it's quite interesting to see fairly old technology just getting a new brand in now outside of mining. So with my time in mining, I really got to spend quite a bit of time with many different customers around Australia, and I was primarily in a kind of an embedded engineer role, really focusing on the electric drive systems, but I really did help customers maximize value out of the data that we were getting. So, and this is using your kind of traditional condition monitoring tools, where you try and apply as much kind of application knowledge as you can to try and predict and detect failures before they happen. And so I've been involved with quite a couple of different platforms, and now I'm actually quite excited to be in a new role with Siemens. I'm actually sitting in a digitalization consultant role, and that is quite a big word. But essentially, I stepped into this position because I could actually see our customers struggling with this transition. I was actually in their position. I was actually part of the end user, and so I really came from into this role focusing on really value-added products. And so that's my role today, focusing on digitalization and adoption of new technologies to assist customers and really focus on that value add.
No, thank you. No, really good intro. And the perfect person to talk to, I'd suggest as well, about this topic. So I'm just going to start. So I think this is quite a broad question, so I think it will take us into a few different areas. But maybe we should start with some of the key challenges facing metals and mining companies, and maybe an additional question, like how has that changed over the years? You know, you've been working in the industry.
Yeah, mining's certainly a very challenging environment, not just because of the applications, but also in Australia. You know, the country is the size of the US, and we have 28 million people, and 85% of those people live on the coastline. So you can just imagine how wide open our spaces are in between places. And mining traditionally sits in very remote places. And I would say challenges around mining, there are so many, but if I just had to maybe pick a few, the first one that comes to mind is kind of skills and resource retention. This is very much a fluid workforce. There is new mines opening up all the time. There are new opportunities coming, and it's quite natural for engineers to move from company to company to company within the mining space, because the opportunities and the challenges are so good. And basically, skills retention is tough. And basically, we're well out of COVID now, but COVID was a real wake-up call for here in Australia, how much our workforce moved around. We'd have people living in Sydney, which is on the East Coast, working a fly-in, fly-out job, which is, 5,000 kilometers away in WA, in the north west of Australia. And so it really was kind of a wake-up call with regards to resourcing, and this is certainly a challenge. We've always got our operational costs, so when it comes to making commitments on upgrades, modernization, all of this, it's very challenging to kind of make these commitments with fluctuating commodities, and these investments really have to, they take a good 10 years to actually come back for when you're talking about strategic change. And also, with regards to mining, and this is actually a challenge in all of our technologies. This is not just in mining, and this is complexity, and how complex the mining systems are becoming. This is not just a small digger and a shovel and a conveyor belt and a crusher and these are real cutting edge technologies that are being applied, and that does require certain skill sets. And this is, as I say, it comes back to that challenge, but the challenges faced in this space are quite significant. And so yeah, I'd say there are many challenges, but if I just had to name a few, that's some of them.
Yeah, and maybe if we dive in, because you mentioned sort of resources and maybe a skill, not skill worth it, but lack of resources in that area. Maybe we could start there, and how technology is helping sort of solve some of these challenges, I guess.
Now I think it's a double-edged sword when it comes to new technologies, because technology is becoming so complex that it is easy to tap out and say, I don't know anymore. All right. This is becoming quite common. This is something I've been waiting for in my career, where I hit a point where I say, I can't do it anymore. I can't adopt any more technology. I feel the technology is surpassing, my ability to do it. And this is a real challenge that we have with regards to the technologies that are coming out now. And if we don't change, if we don't modify the way that we train, support, and educate our staff, the technology is going to basically outrun the ability to maintain. And this is something that I actually see quite often when I'm out in the field, and I can kind of see the guys that are not really interested in adopting new technologies. They're very good at what they do, and they've been doing it for some time. and they are resistant to change, and that's okay. But this is one of the challenges that we have. So technology is great in improving performance and efficiency, but it also is scaring the workforce. And we need to provide, educate, and new tools to be able to adjust to this shift and technology adoption.
Yeah, and why is there such a sort of resistance to change? I mean, I'm sure there's many reasons, but what if there's a tool out there that can help improve their, like I said, I guess a lot of it, Richard, is education. But is there like a fundamental reason or reasons why they might be resistant to embrace technology and other sort of support tools?
Look, I think this has always been here, but they've been amplified usually in step changes. I mean, if you had to take the adoption of mobile phones and you think of that 6 month or maybe 1 year transition about some people that were using mobile phones and some people that weren't. If we talk about the adoption of computers and who didn't adopt computers. And then it's actually migrated to the adoption of new tools. So we are constantly getting these challenges along the way, but they are becoming faster. Everything is accelerating with regards to what's becoming available. And so if you look at a traditional company that wants to support a product, traditionally you would send your team out and get training, and they get certified for version 21, and they come back and everybody has a certificate, and off they go and they support the customer, and basically are educated that way. But the way the things are going right now, by the time these guys come back from version 21 training, 22 is released, and you can't put all of your you can't do that anymore with regards to sending your entire workforce for certification. So you're ending up now with dedicated champions in a product, in a company that will lead the certain ways. But this is why it is important that with this change and with this challenge, we must make the tools available. So, and this is one of the advantages of what I see in Senseye and have seen is it is a tool that is actually assisting with this technology, because you can't expect everybody to be across everything with applied knowledge. That's just impossible. It is this use of the tool to augment the way that you are doing your day-to-day activities that actually works quite well.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying, Richard, is you can't scale yourself, right? Or people, you can't multiply. Well, you can, but if there's a lack of resources or in the market, then the only way you can scale in terms of resource is using technology to do that. Is that a fair thing to say?
Very much so. And I don't need to say any more than that. I agree with that. That's the challenge. Is scalability of application knowledge is becoming a scarce resource. So we really do need to assist in that application knowledge and how you actually get it. So application knowledge is usually, or experience is gained from challenges overcome. It doesn't come from a classroom. It doesn't come from anywhere other than stuck in the field somewhere, or the only way you're going to get out of it is if you fix it yourself or you get help. And that is something that can only be gained over time. So that's the challenge, that it's of scalability, but even to gain that experience takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and another it's interesting you mentioned about champions sort of driving the change, or you could even call it cultural change to sort of adopt these technologies. It's something we talk about with Senseye Predictive Maintenance a lot as a key driver for both adoption and scale as well. I guess that's your experience as well from what you were saying. They're very important to this sort of technology change and adoption within mining organisations, if you want to be more specific to that.
Yeah. Look, from a service perspective, it's very challenging for Siemens engineers here in Australia. We're not as large as Europe, and we don't have the install base allowing for our engineers to be able to specialize in certain verticals, be that drives, process instruments, factory automation. There are many different aspects. And most mines include all of that, from flow meters to drives to PLCs to skaters to, it's the entire suite of the Siemens family. And and basically, when our customers call, they expect a service engineer to arrive on site and provide value straight away. And this is a challenge that we have, is staying on top of the technology, but still having enough time to go out and be a profitable business and support our product. So you've got to find that balance. And one of the great things about Siemens, that I love about Siemens, I've been with them 17 or 18 years here in Australia and 10 or 9 in South Africa, was they will support you and the brand. So if you do purchase Siemens, you rest assured that you're actually going to get the support, because Siemens are well invested in supporting our technologies.
No, absolutely, and it's, I mean, from a Senseye perspective, it's almost like it's the final jigsaw piece, and it takes me on to sort of the next topic we're going to talk about is connectivity, because that's sort of where before the acquisition Senseye used to work with partners and stuff, but now obviously part of Siemens we can offer the full package. But what role does good connectivity play in sort of successful, if we want to say, predictive maintenance deployments, if you want to be, we talk about it a lot in the podcast, but what's your sort of view, Richard?
Look, it's the base. It's the foundation for the value that you want to create. And so it's basically a critical step. If I can maybe just take a step back and maybe just talk about the Siemens and Senseye acquisition. And one of the things that I really actually loved about Senseye prior to the Siemens acquisition is they were vendor agnostic. All right, and that is becoming quite important in in all suppliers now. So even for Siemens, our focus is connect anything, anywhere, anytime. And Siemens has a special initiative called Accelerator, where one of the key components, it's a minimum requirement of the hardware to be able to openly connect to all vendors. And so that when it comes to connectivity, this is a challenge, and it is very, very important, but it is becoming more and more important. And I think more specifically for Senseye, what I've seen, especially in mining, is basically this paralysis in analysis kind of situation where there's so much data that that is being run through so many condition monitoring tools that it kind of is executing a great function when it comes to condition monitoring, but there are Senseye, in my assessment so far, is the first tool to be able to go through the gates of normal condition monitoring and catch anomalies within those barriers. And so I usually talk about the three gates of control. And the first gate of control is you buy a motor, and that motor would be a 22 kilowatt motor, has got defined variables. It can only go up to 45 amps. It can only do a certain speed. And so, yes, you can go set thresholds on that motor, and you can protect that motor. And that's a site level control. Then you go and put that motor in an application where it might be pumping some water or a conveyor. And you know from experience and application knowledge that that motor will only run between 10 and, say, 15 amps. And yes, you can go and apply some application knowledge there using the condition monitoring tools, but that's where it ends. That's where the traditional condition monitoring ends. And this is actually where Senseye starts, is basically analyzing the data after that and actually learning as to what is normal and really giving you a good fingerprint and a deviation from the norm. And that's the real value that I see in Senseye is when it comes to mining, a lot of the mine sites already have very good tools for condition monitoring. And they have dedicated reliability engineering teams, but this is all very application knowledge heavy. This is, you've got to talk to experts. You really do have to speak to experts about what the problem is. And what I've seen from Senseye so far with the applications that I've been involved with is the ability to pick up anomalies and trend detection and the forecasting and everything that the tool and the page does within those gates.
No, it's really interesting. Really good background as well on Senseye there and what it can achieve. And I guess actually just a question on your background a little bit, Richard. In terms of predictive maintenance, when did you first sort of come across that term or hear that term in your years of experience? It's just interesting. And how has it changed from then to today, I guess, in its application?
Look, I would say predictive maintenance has been there for quite some time, but I suppose the context has changed. When we spoke about predictive maintenance in the past using condition monitoring, that was rules-based predictive maintenance. And so it certainly did become the slogan for most condition monitoring tools to get to. But I would say from my point of view, Senseye kind of flipped that for me when it comes to predictive maintenance, because that is the way that the tool works is true predictive maintenance. It's a tool that will work on its own, but like anything, it's best when you work 50-50 with application knowledge and the actual tool. So just the same way we use our computers and our calculators and our all of our tools in modern day use, I can see Senseye actually being adopted as just another virtual reliability engineer in the room. And that's what I have seen it being adopted as, where in the morning when they have a toolbox talk and they find out what happened on the night shift, and basically somebody asked, what did Senseye raise overnight? And then they give, so that's the way that I can see it being adopted.
I like that name for a meeting, toolbox talk. That's quite, but sort of makes sense.
Yeah,
I quite like that. But no, and funny you mentioned toolbox actually, because I remember interviewing a customer in the US probably about a year ago now, but he described Senseye as like a tool in his toolbox. That's how he described it. He's got all these different tools. So if he looks at the situation and goes, "Oh, I want to look at Senseye or use Senseye," is that another good way to sort of look at it as a tool in the toolbox? I like your virtual, or did you say virtual reliability engineer? Or that's another nice way to describe it.
Look, this is one of the biggest challenges whenever somebody says the word digitalization or Industry 4.0 or digital transformation. It is very important that you drop that word as soon as you can and talk about digitization. All right. And digitization are the individual bricks that make up digitalization. And this is what I work with our customers, is to identify which one of those bricks they need to adopt. And those bricks can be digital worker. They can be ERP. They can be condition-based monitoring. I've actually got them. There's about 26 different digitization initiatives that you can do. But this is what I do when I'm sitting down with customers, is I don't talk about those until I actually have really understood what their problem is. And that's exactly what I do. I'll start taking those tools out of the toolbox and saying, look, what about this as a solution? What about this as a solution? I try and put maybe 3, maybe 5 solutions forward, really focusing on what they can bring, because there are so many tools out there at the moment. And again, our customers are getting too much information, and as soon as they adopt something, there's something new coming out. And it's very, very important that when you define a tool like predictive maintenance and Senseye, that you have all the documentation, that you have the pricing structure and everything to get from to get it across the line.
And that's so common from all the conversations I have. It's often, and especially when you mention, because now predictive maintenance is a little bit more mainstream, even from when I started at Senseye originally. But predictive maintenance, and particularly if you put AI next to it, suddenly becomes, the cool next thing. Oh, let's do a little bit of predictive maintenance. And I guess the other problem with that approach, besides, like I said, thinking of technology before the actual business outcome you want to do, is the problem is a predictive maintenance project could then become, it's a nice little innovation project. We'll just do, put a little bit of resource on it and give it a go. But as you know, it takes a lot more, stakeholder involvement. Well, it takes a lot more input, but the results, if you get it right, is obviously huge, isn't it? So it's what you put into it is what you get out of it. But when you see a shiny, lovely bit of technology, you don't think of that quite as much, do you? I guess.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, if we, for example, if I look at the Siemens suite of tools, we've got Senseye in the predictive maintenance space, and we've got basically vibration monitoring, we've got energy efficiency. Essentially, what Siemens have done to try and simplify this complexity is we have two platforms available to customers, and this is firstly a cloud-based application, which is Insights Hub. And Insights Hub is basically the Google Play App Store for industry. So you can basically go and choose an application designed fit for purpose, and be that for condition monitoring, vibration, sound. There's many, many different tools there. And this is what I have to do to help our customers. So a customer might say, I want AI for anomaly detection on something, but they don't want the full suite of tools. And so, yes, we've got individual apps that can do that. But the other platform that we have is then Industrial Edge, which is very similar to the cloud applications, but they run on premise on industrial PCs. And this gives us the ability to run run at a higher frequency, at a higher resolution, which is usually what Siemens want to do when we're fault finding. We really want a higher sample rate. So edge is definitely going to become the normal platform solution moving forward. But one of the things that I must just say when we talk about AI, there are many different companies currently that have AI tools, and there are many different companies that basically are working on it. I'd say nearly every company is, but there are very few companies that have a demonstrated record in the AI space. And I, when I say the AI space, this is basically deep learning, machine learning kind of algorithms tailored beautifully into one package. And this is what Senseye have done very well, is that they've taken a fairly complex tool, broken it up into the 7 or 8 different detections, be it anomaly, trend forecasting, or degradation, and simplified that onto one dashboard. And and one of the other things that I think is quite important to know, that I learned about Senseye, is that the platform was designed and built with the customer in mind. This wasn't something that was designed and built in a factory and then sent out to the customers to use. I was very interested in Senseye's journey and how they've been so successful in this space. And so, and this is one of those things. So I think when it comes to resistance to change, and the challenges that we face with adoption of these new technologies, it's all about layman terms, understanding of how the tool works. And nearly every presentation that I've done so far with Senseye, the feedback has been very, very good, because I'm a fairly simple person, so I explain things very simply, and so yeah.
Wouldn't call you a simple person, Richard. Certainly not. No, definitely not.
I do.
No, that's fine. No, you can, of course. But no, that's great. That's great to hear such great feedback. Just as we sort of draw our conversation to a close, it's been really sort of interesting to get your thoughts. But if we go back to sort of mining metals sort of focus again, if a company was looking to get started with Senseye Predictive Maintenance or other predictive maintenance tools available, I guess, but if they were looking to get started today, what would be your sort of advice for them to sort of think about first, or to maybe have in the back of their mind before they sort of go on this journey?
I think one thing that's important to understand with our mining customers is that they are a very educated workforce. They are doing very complex things, and a lot of them are cutting edge technologies. And so there is a significant skill set in these companies. And so I'm quite excited about the possibilities that we or the opportunities that we have in the mining space. But the challenge is getting the message across and demonstrating the value. And this is something that is going to be a big challenge, is because traditionally mines are, metals and mining, are resistant to change. They do what they did yesterday because that's what you do. And so our biggest challenge here is demonstrating at a very high level the value that predictive maintenance brings and what differentiates Senseye. Because there is a clear differentiator on how Senseye does what it does. And this is the message that we have to get across. And so, but from an adoption point of view, it's most mining companies will also have a digital transformation team. And we just need to reach out to those teams and demonstrate and show what's actually on offer, and see how that can actually bring them value. Because one of the things that's also quite prevalent, and I use that word, in mining is that when systems get commissioned, they get commissioned and they never really get looked at again. And there are many different inefficiencies when you start putting 5 or 6 systems together in a process. And if you don't have that big data view, or if you don't have that connectivity across the application, you are actually losing out on quite a lot of operational savings. So maybe we can talk about that at another time when we talk about what actually happens at commissioning, what's deemed to be complete, and what can still be done after that in your traditional commissioning phase. Because the KPI is to get it tested and commissioned as per the document and get the system up and running. And there's hardly ever a 6-month review on the performance of that asset, and this is quite important. So yeah.
No, really, really excellent tips there, Richard. And like I said, this is hopefully the start of a little bit of a recurring series, so we can really dive into some of these topics in more detail, particularly on that sort of resistance to change topic as well. I've just made a note. But I think there's a few things that we can dive into on future episodes. So yeah, thank you for that overview. But for now, I think we can sort of close it there. But it's been really great to talk to you, Richard, and great to hear your enthusiasm about Senseye Predictive Maintenance as well. So it'll be interesting as well as we sort of roll out, not to say roll out, but as you're talking to more customers in Australia, what their reaction is to the product and their adoption of the product, etc. So that'll be very interesting to know or to learn. But besides that, thank you everyone for listening today. And thank you again, Richard, for your time and taking part as well.
Niall, if I could just maybe just say one thing quickly.
Sure.
One of the great things that I see you doing is a lot of education in this YouTube space. Look, I've been with Siemens 18 years, and maybe 4 of those have been on YouTube, understanding on how we do things. And it's very good to see all of these things that you're putting together with regards to how we tackle things. And I'm very happy to be part of that. So thank you very much.
No, and absolutely. And we, like I said, it's not, there's lots of challenges, lots of things to think about. We acknowledge that. And we try and make that sort of clear that it's not just click your fingers, set it up and off you go. There's more to it, but the rewards are huge. So we just want to help through content. What I can do and people on my team can do is help. And people like yourself as well. So it's not me. I facilitate it. Without people like yourself, Richard, taking the time to discuss it, you're the ones who are providing the feedback. We're just sort of getting it out into the right places. So yeah, we're going to do more and more of that over the coming years as well. And particularly in your case in Australia as well, to help customers there. But thank you for those kind words. And we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone. See you on the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. How did you think that went, Richard? Okay.
I can maybe talk too much, but it is something that all of those are really kind of how I feel, and and I am really excited about Senseye as a service. It's one of the first tools available from Siemens, even being acquired through Senseye, that that I'm quite happy to go to and pitch. So and this, because I come from the field, I'm not going to push something that I don't feel is going to bring the customer value. And so, maybe that gets me in trouble a little bit with regards to, sales or KPIs. But I think that yes, no, what we have available is very, very important. But, we have so many tools available that we hardly ever have to do that because, we've got so many tools available.
I'm really sorry, Rich. I'm going to have to cut you off because I need someone's at my front door. My food shop's are right. I'm really sorry to cut you off, but thank you again. And I'll speak to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Richard. Speak soon.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.